Oh, wow. So saving him from game one of the wild card series wasn't the worst play.
No, look, they gambled and they won, right? I mean, there are no, at least in regards to this bet, there were no Ippei Mizuharas here,
Hello and welcome back to Dodgers Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with our columnist, Dylan Hernandez. We are in Philadelphia. If you can't tell by the Philly fanatic behind us.
Philly fanatic and Dodger fanatic.
Whoa. Objective journalism here, Dylan. And whatever the opposite of a negatively objective journalism is.
What are you talking about? How could I have been more positive about Roki Sasaki than I was a couple of days ago?
That's true. You pick and choose your spots to see the light. We were going to shoot with the field behind us here at Citizens Bank Park, but the security told us off. I think we're already getting a bad vibe for the city here. We've been here like 6 hours.
The weather's shockingly nice.
It is.
Right? It's like the first positive thing I've ever had to say about Philadelphia.
Not the history, not the
history, yeah.
The Rocky statue.
I was not too long ago. I was down a year or two ago. I was down at a park here somewhere, and there was
I feel like this is not going to be a compliment.
No, it's the Museum of Segregation or something.
Great.
It was closed. I didn't get to see it, but I was kind of I guess, there's.
Oh, I don't think
stuff has happened.
I don't think they were. I don't think it's there to celebrate it.
Right.
All right. Well, this ballpark is going to be. Wow, you really made me segue smoothly out of that. This ballpark is going to be quite a scene tomorrow for Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Probably the most marquee matchup of this round in MLB's postseason between a Phillies team that is trying to get over a postseason hump, a Dodgers team that is trying to defend the World Series they won last year and getting over their own postseason hump. Two big offenses, two talented starting rotations. Phillies probably have an edge in the bullpen, but I don't know. When you come into this, what are you looking at as a key for the Dodgers? The big question, I think honestly it might go back to Roki Sasaki again and how they get this bullpen lined up against what's going to be a much, much tougher lineup than they saw in Cincinnati.
Well, they've kind of lined this up to be the Shohei Ohtani series, right? Obviously, he's starting Game 1 tomorrow. I think they prefer that he not hit the days after he pitches. This whole thing, the gamble they took in the previous round, is kind of paid off, is going to let,
Oh, wow. So saving him from Game 1 of the wild card series wasn't the worst play.
No, look, they gambled and they won, right? There are no, at least in regards to this bet, there were no Ippei Mizuharas here. This is a good bet, right? And they've really kind of set the stage for him to do something big, right? And I think, he's going to probably have to be the difference maker here because, like you said, that's a really good team on the other side, right? And I think you got two very good lineups, two good rotations, and kind of the bullpen, and we're not really sure, what's obviously going to happen there.
How much with Ohtani do you trust? Which I think it's pretty high, given your argument last week. But Dave Roberts said today the restrictions are off. He could go 6 innings. He could go 7. I suppose the door could be open for more if he's super pitch efficient, although his season high is still only 91. I think there's going to be an adrenaline component, like he talked today, about, I'm the type of pitcher that in big moments, usually my fastball velo goes up and I got to try to stay composed and balanced and within my delivery. How do you, because this is going to be a very different thing than he's ever pitched in before. And we've talked about this in the past, that as a hitter and a pitcher, there's a different persona. I thought it was interesting today. He acknowledged that, I might be a little nervous, which is in total contrast to last year when he shut down the nervous question about playing in the postseason for the first time. So did you trust that he can give this team the 6 or 7 innings that are going to be required to help cover for the bullpen, to help set this series with the right tone, and to be able to do that again against the Phillies lineup that, especially with the left-handed slugging threats they have, and Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, I think poses a very interesting and difficult test for him.
Yeah, and not only that, right? And they still need him to hit too.
Right?
That's only half the job here.
We forget
they don't have a choice. I think they need him to do that, right? And if he doesn't deliver those types of performances, I'm not sure they get by here. So you get to a certain stage of a season, and sometimes you just kind of have to bet on your guy, right? And obviously with this organization, they kind of have the history of asking Kershaw to go on short rest, and those things didn't work out, but you know what? In those situations, like looking back on that thing, and I'm sure Clayton would say the same thing. Were those mistakes? Like, no, like that was like the thing to do at the time, and you put your best foot forward, and sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. But he's going to have to do it. Like that's, and the one thing today, and I'm not really sure like how this kind of comes across, right, through like an interpreter and stuff, but when you just kind of looked at the control he had today, right?
He was sitting like this at the desk like the whole time.
Yeah, and not even right, exactly. He wasn't like moving, right? And even like when he talked about being nervous, it was almost like, okay, it's going to sound weird if I don't, it's like he was almost trying to like humanize himself, but like while humanizing himself, he kind of sounded
a robot.
Right. Yeah. Like he kind of sounded like this like baseball cyborg almost, as he was trying to like convince us he's normal. With him, the adrenaline just doesn't have like a negative effect. If anything, it just kind of enhances performance. So yeah, I'm expecting him to at least like come out and, not, like completely implode in the first inning.
I think I would agree with that. To me, this series is kind of dependent on this first game because I think the Dodgers, obviously, they're going to have to steal a game here. When you look at the way the rest of the series is lined up, you're going to be asking Blake Snell for a second big start, which, again, is possible. But, like, the Phillies, like, their rotation can match up a little bit better with the depth that, like, a team like Cincinnati didn't have. When you go home, it's going to be Yamamoto. You feel good about that. It's going to be Tyler Glasnow, which is still probably more of a wild card. And this series in particular, getting two really good starts out of Snell and Yamamoto in a wild card was easier to expect, especially against that lineup. Whereas in this kind of series, there's going to be games that come down to the bullpen having to pitch probably 3 or 4 innings. And I still have a lot of questions. Now, they are going to change the look of the bullpen. Clayton Kershaw will be part of the group, which I think is probably the right move considering just how rattled and non-confident, for lack of a better term, a lot of their relievers looked in those first 2 games of the postseason. But winning an Ohtani start, again, because of the stuff he brings, the magnitude of the moment, and it kind of set a tone. Like, when you look at the 3 games that the Dodgers are going to get here, like this is probably the one you feel best about. The Phillies are coming off the bye week, which we've talked about in years past, how tough that can be. And if you don't get this one, it's going to put them in it's going to put them under a different kind of pressure against a really good team that's going to be difficult, I think, to bounce back from, especially when you have to play this series on the road. So
yeah, and when you talk about those Yamamoto Snell starts, and this could even happen tomorrow, frankly, or with Glasnow too. That situation in the top of the 6th against the Reds in Game 2, where it's bases loaded, no outs. Roberts is sticking with Yamamoto because, you're right, he might not say it like this, but he doesn't trust the bullpen, which he shouldn't. Doing that against this lineup is a little bit different, I think, than, doing that against the Reds lineup, which not to take anything away from Yamamoto, but sometimes those guys got themselves out, right?
I thought you were going to say not to take anything away from the Reds. I was like, take a lot away.
I think there's going to be kind of that, I think we've been saying this for a while, right? That, you feel like Roberts is almost kind of being set up for a Grady Little moment here, where he might leave a guy in a little too long.
I know, but Grady Little had other options. Right. I don't like this analogy that you guys keep going to. That was obviously wrong. If Dave Roberts' mistake in the postseason this year is going to be if he pulls a guy too early to throw out one of these untrustworthy relievers. Yeah. Don't call him Grady Little and try to be like, oh, don't go too far, Dave. Like you got these great arms in the bullpen.
Oh no, he's got to do what he did in that game, right? I mean, it kind of comes down to like kind of trusting certain people. I mean, maybe I don't know what Kershaw's going to be comfortable doing, but like at least as a guy, you kind of trust him that he's not going to beat himself, right?
You can hand him an 8-run lead in the 8th inning and feel confident that the game's not going to go sideways on him.
The other guy who spoke today, right, Hiroki Sasaki. It's interesting, right? I mean, he hasn't, obviously, just because he spent most of the year injured, we didn't get to know him a ton. I was kind of surprised by just, I guess, like the confidence he kind of projected, when he kind of was talking about reflecting on his season. And again, I think a couple of things might have gotten lost in translation a little bit. But like one thing, he kind of talked about, yes, because it's, right, what was it new, what was it like coming to like a new league in a new country? And he's like, yeah, the schedule's different, the travel's different. But from a competition standpoint, he said, I don't really feel like I got to experience that at all because I just wasn't in a position to pitch as well as I can, right?
And they didn't get to see me.
Right, yeah, right. That was how I read that, right? That was the implication. It's like, well, when I'm fine, obviously, I'm awesome. You guys saw it the other night. And, I think kind of going forward, that's kind of like a promising thing, because I don't think, you kind of hear like different things, right? And you kind of try to read in, at this point, it's almost like reading tea leaves, where you try to read into the guy's body language and stuff. And, okay, how resilient is he, this and that? This is, this guy's he's got like a very strong sense of self, I think, right? And so I think that's kind of promising for future seasons. Now, as far as him as a closer, though, one thing that he did kind of mention on the, and I think he touched on this a little today, but he mentioned it to Kirsten Watson on Sports Now LA after the game, that because he had a 4-run lead, he was able to just kind of let it go without worrying about giving up a home run, And this is the thing, though. That's what made him so good, right? Was here's the ball,
confidence,
hit it,
the lack of
right.
fear.
I have two pitches. I have 2 pitches. You're going to have a 50% rate of getting it right, but I'm going to throw the crap out of them and hit it if you can, basically. And you kind of don't want, and look, this is a scary lineup, right? I could see, we talk about like kind of nightmare moment. I mean, this used to be a house of horrors here, Jack, when you were like in elementary school, probably. But like, obviously, the last time I was here, I was calling Tom Niedenfuhr, who had kind of back-to-back postseason, bad late inning moments. And it was because Jonathan Broxton has had his kind of second consecutive meltdown here, That's what I associate this ballpark with, right? And so now it's going to be Sasaki and, out there probably, going through the meat of that lineup at some point, with guys like Harper, with guys like Schwarber, and when I think about that Matt Stairs home run at the first one at Dodger Stadium, it was just kind of the sound, right? You had this guy in Broxton who threw 100, and just like the sound and just kind of the silence kind of, right, that kind of came over. And the elements are here for that, right? I mean, Sasaki throws really hard, those guys.
It's still, I know his arm slot's a little different, the characteristics on the fastball, but it's still not a fastball. Like it's a as hittable of a 100-mile-per-hour fastball as you can throw, at that velocity in terms of the shape and the characteristics.
Yeah. Now the thing is, right, and what's been great, I think probably since he was down in the minors, is just like the location, though, right? And this is what made him so hard to hit in Japan, is that that thing doesn't move a ton, but he's like,
right. When he hits it at the bottom of the zone and they can play the splitter off that.
He's hitting the edges of the zone, right? It's not quite Yamamoto precision, but it's pretty close, and that's what made this guy so good, So it's going to be kind of interesting, right? Again, to see like this guy kind of going up against maybe guys like that potentially late in the game, potentially with like a 1-run lead. It's going to be, I think it's going to be great theater.
I'm just glad that you tried to start this episode by saying, no, I'm not negative. I wrote so positively about Roki Sasaki, and now we're ending it with, remember Jonathan Broxton in 08 and 09.
But these things, like, fans that are, and I saw some fans, on the plane coming in, right? Some older fans that I'm sure, again, saw that happen, right? And, these things do kind of affect like the atmospheres at ballparks and stuff. I think at Dodger Stadium, you're going to have a lot of people that kind of remember that. And you can kind of, it's not as bad as obviously like Petco, right? Where they're just like used to losing all the time. As soon as something bad happens, there's like an immediate shift in the stands. It's not quite like that because, Dodger Stadium's a little more maybe multi-generational, or different generations experience different things. But yeah, but that's this is kind of part of this is part of the drama, right? Is, can he do this thing that maybe some other, right, really accomplished pitchers in the past failed in? I think, and look, like he looked the other night, to me, he looked like special, right? This is not even somebody like me who honestly...
You thought that? I couldn't tell by reading your column when you compared him to Messi, Allen Iverson, and Reggie Bush.
Because look, even somebody I think that like doesn't really like baseball, right? Watches kind of it's the high leg kick. It was kind of like the explosive like push off, right?
It's like we talked about at the beginning of the year. It was shotgun Roki was back, just like this time he was with like the precision of like a rifle.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is that like he is going to kind of draw like eyeballs regardless. I mean, and this is kind of what makes it this fun, right? I'm looking forward to this. I rarely look forward to baseball, but I want to see if he can do this. Right, and maybe he can. Right, we've seen so many athletes kind of come through the city over the years. Right, so many great athletes, and some of them have succeeded. Most probably don't reach the heights that they want to reach. Right, Kawhi Leonard's probably, you know,
He's reaching the financial heights.
He is. Well, I mean, I don't think he didn't get all that money, right? I mean, he's probably sitting around thinking like, well, what, you know, this isn't how I pictured this happening. I mean, it could go both ways. And I think, you know, with Ohtani last year, it kind of worked out. He came here, you know, it worked out for him. He won his World Series. And I think we're, you know, kind of seeing the start of potentially something special in Sasaki or not.
Well, you know who's going to get in his head? It's going to be that guy. I will bet you so much money that at some point he's going up to Roki Sasaki and trying to do whatever. And that's test number one right there. If you can survive the fanatic, then it's only the other 45,000 people here you got.
You know, I mean, whenever I see that, I always think of Tommy.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's an iconic moment.
And Dave Roberts did try to go after Schilt. Maybe he'll just assault the fanatic.
You're really drawing two strings pretty far together there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, game one will be tomorrow. We will be here. We have pregame coverage on LATimes.com.
And there's nowhere else to be in this city. This place sucks.
Why every time the Dodgers play a playoff series must you attack the city that you go to?
This one really does suck.
It's worse than St. Louis and Milwaukee? Oh, do not say yes.
No, it's not worse than St. Louis. St. Louis is like up there, right?
In Milwaukee?
In terms of like bad.
This is worse than Milwaukee?
Yeah, Milwaukee's got some spots. You just got nowhere to go.
No.
Which evidently you don't.
Wolski's in Milwaukee does not fix everything. I tried. It wasn't great. Well, hey, maybe we'll get the Philly-Milwaukee double play.
Oh, boy. Oh, this could be a rough...
Yeah.
This could be a rough
It's going to be tough for you. Well,
I thought it was bad being at home dealing with my kids, but this is going to be so much worse.
All right, well, we're going to start finding out tomorrow night. Game one of the NLDS, Dodgers-Phillies. We'll be here, and we'll be back post-game for another episode of Dodgers Debate. Until then, thanks for watching.